Cut to the chase, evidence-based. Pull up a chair, let's get this straight. Peptide buddy, he's your peptide buddy.
Hey everybody, time to talk about a peptide we haven't covered before, and this is called LL-37. It's quite unique and not really like the other peptides we've covered. It's considered a human cathelicidin antimicrobial peptide, and it's made up of 37 amino acids, and it's a key component of the innate immune system. In the past, we've covered the innate versus adaptive immune system, but let's quickly review it once again. Although these two facets of immunity are distinct, they're also complementary. The innate immune system is our first line of defense, the natural barriers our body has against foreign germs and invaders. The protective fortresses, in a way. Our skin, the hairs in our nose, mucous membranes, and cell types like neutrophils and macrophages that recognize certain pathogenic patterns to neutralize them. And while the innate immune system is more nonspecific, the adaptive immune system is just that, adaptive. Slower to respond and more specific for antigenic invaders consisting of B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes to target patterns it's seen before and form memories of novel threats so it can help eliminate them in the future. This obviously isn't a complete overview, but more of a simple layout of immune architecture. Cathelicidins are a family of antimicrobial peptides that play a central role in the innate immune system. In humans, the only cathelicidin is LL-37, which came about from cleavage of what's called the 18 kilodalton human cathelicidin antimicrobial protein, and thus it's thought to align with immunomodulation and antimicrobial effects, thought to act as part of this first-line innate immune system, and it appears that interest in LL-37 isn't just a modern-day occurrence, but something that's been building over the past 15 years or so. But one thing that makes conceptualizing this antimicrobial precursor protein complex is the fact that it's widely expressed from epithelial cells to the respiratory tract, gastrointestinal environment, reproductive system to immunity. Now, LL-37 initially became of interest because it was discovered to prevent biofilm formation of certain bacteria. Bacteria biofilms are kind of like a microscopic shell used to propel their invasion and prevent their dissolution, and so an ability of a compound to destroy them demonstrates an immune capability. And although we don't know exactly how LL-37 does this, it's quite interesting regardless. Moreover, within the immune system, LL-37 seems to recruit immune cells to enhance defenses to microbial invasion, seen to modulate activity of neutrophils, macrophages, dendritic cells, and it may even help neutralize lipopolysaccharides, which are a key invading pathogen expressed by bacteria. And LL-37 is also known to be quite angiogenic, promoting formation of new blood vasculature and its related involvement with features of wound healing. In a similar vein, it's thought to be interwoven with features of cancer as well, in a bit of a controversial manner, which adds another layer of complexity to understanding this antimicrobial peptide. This is likely quite a complex topic to dissect in general because LL-37 is the widely expressed only human cathelicidin peptide. But on top of that, receptors in different cells may respond to LL-37 activity in a different manner. And to emphasize the peptides dichotomy, I'll attach a line from a recently published review which states, LL-37 has been found to have contrasting effects on different types of cancers. For certain cancers such as breast, lung, and ovary cancer, LL-37 is tumorigenic and facilitates the cancer formation process. While in other cancers, like colon and gastric cancers, LL-37 has been proven to be anti-cancer. Quite intricate, cool, and concerning at the same time. But let's segue into why you actually care, which is because there's a sect of the biohacking community interested in supplementing with exogenous LL-37 use. But before we dive in, I'm going to quickly ask for your support. If you do enjoy evidence-based, research-backed peptide content, the best way to help me out, believe it or not, is to give a like and subscribe. Most of my channel's viewers aren't subscribed, and to keep this heavily researched, reference-cited content going, I'd appreciate your continued support. So Thanks a lot. Let's move on and summarize preclinical research in animal models and the actual human trials that have occurred. We've already mentioned from the biohacker's POV the sum of research from a preclinical standpoint, an involvement within the innate immune system, subsequent modulatory effects, a controversial impact on cancer, and likely angiogenic blood flow augmenting properties. In animal models, particularly murine or mouse models of sepsis, LL-37 administrations demonstrated protective effects by improving survival and modulating effects of inflammation. In other words, helping the animals survive severe infections by stopping certain immune cells from dying in a way that makes inflammation worse, keeping inflammation under control, helping white blood cells catch and neutralize bacteria. Now, I'd like to spend the rest of our time talking about human clinical evaluation because it does exist and it's certainly fascinating, at least if you're a nerd like me, and honestly, if you made it this far, you are too, like it or not. The most robust of human data comes from an analysis of patients with hard-to-heal venous leg ulcers, and this was called the HEAL LL-37 trial, which was preceded by a smaller trial showing potential benefit. And it was a well-conducted phase 2b study that came out of different sites in Sweden and in Poland. It consisted of just under 150 participants, and it looked at topical LL-37 use at different dosages versus placebo versus standard compression therapy over 13 weeks with twice-weekly application and a 4-month follow-up period. And compared to placebo, the LL-37 groups were without significant improvement. Analysis after the research was conducted, which is called post-hoc analysis, showed perhaps favorable outcomes with LL-37 in those with larger wounds, but generally speaking, post-hoc analysis is less reliable, and when looking at the primary endpoints, there didn't seem to show any consistent benefit. However, it was generally well tolerated, with more concerning outcomes like infection thought to be unrelated to LL-37. There was another trial in diabetic foot ulcers that came out of Indonesia, which in a low sample size population showed a proposed enhanced rate of healing in treatment groups in those with mild infection. However, there didn't appear to be decreased markers of inflammation or bacterial colonization within those groups. There's also a less relevant and arguably less reliable case study that looked at a 63-year-old woman with invasive melanoma treated with injectable LL-37. But 45 days into the trial, she developed many vesicular and bulbous lesions over her trunk and extremities, filled with inflammatory infiltrate, prompting its discontinuation, ultimately highlighting a possible severe adverse dermatologic outcome to injectable use of the peptide. Now, I'll conclude by emphasizing some data showing some possible promise in the context of a viral illness that over the past 5 years has taken the world by storm. Due to monetization and concerns that an in-depth discussion would get my video lost in the algorithm in not a good way, I won't discuss every facet, but I will say there's a possibility LL-37 via oral intake could possibly increase clearance of this virus. But results are unclear due to small sample sizes and lack of reproducibility, but an interesting sect of data I'll link in the references below. Ultimately, LL-37's interesting given its prevalence in human immunophysiology. However, its unclear role in cancer, limited human clinical data, adverse dermatologic skin-related concerns, and low yield results at this point added to my list of those painted with red flags to keep an eye on. I'm curious to hear what you think, so leave a comment below and a like if you feel so inclined. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you are looking for additional ways to support the channel, I'll link the Patreon in the description below, as well as the links to a BPC 157 20-page educational guide and our growing Peptide Codex online catalog of different peptides that give brief overviews of the research, impressions, and links to my videos on the topic. But most importantly, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. Take care.
Cut to the chase, evidence-based. Pull up a chair, let's get this straight. Peptide buddy, he's your peptide buddy.